Of course, I don't want to take you deep into a subject which will confuse you. This word anthropology and modernity can be equated to what we see as modernity today. Based on individualism, based on enterprise, based on you can extend it right up to LGBT and things like that. But there is nothing like a collectivity. There is nothing like a society. There is nothing like a community. There is nothing like even a family. For example, if you look at what is the condition of the families in some of the Western countries, the families have ceased to exist. In America today, 50% of the first marriages end in divorce in 10 years. If somebody had a desire to marry, 67% of the second marriages end in divorce. If somebody wanted to marry a third time, 73% of the third marriages end in divorce. 51% of the families have become dependent on the state because there is no one to look after the duties of the family. Sense of duty is gone. Because in the last 100 years, rights paradigm dominated the world. And that is modernity. The rights paradigm is destructive of the very idea of human collective, starting from family to the nation. And it is clearly contradictory to the very idea of dharma, which is the foundation of Purushartha. So you must understand that this so-called right that we are talking about is much worse than an atomic bomb. Atomic bomb causes physical destruction. This causes total destruction. So, this idea of modernity is what Max Weber and Karl Marx expounded. In fact, Karl Marx said that this society, Indian economy, Indian civilization has to be destroyed to be prepared for revolution which is necessary for progress and modernity. That was his theory in those two articles. And he said it is what the British is doing is a painful destruction, but it is pleasurable also because that is the only way India can be prepared for revolution. Karl Marx wrote this in 1853. We are almost 160 years, 170 years away from that. And there is no trace of revolution. If there is anything, the revolutionary forces are finished in India, except anarchic forces here and there wandering around. Organized revolution could never take place in India in the sense in which Karl Marx wanted it, because his assessment about India, Indian psyche, Indian way of things, Indian ethos was completely wrong. But the stage set by these two thinkers, it took the world and India along with it. And I am going to read out to you a stunning document by the United Nations based on this idea that modernity is the only way for progress. And what modernity means? Modernity doesn't mean language, it doesn't mean dress, it doesn't mean what we call as the externalities of what we see as the modern world. I am going to read out to you what modernity means. In the official sense of the term, integrating what Karl Marx and Max Weber said, there is a sense in which rapid economic progress is not possible without painful adjustments. Ancient philosophies have to be scrapped. If you want to develop, give up all your philosophies. Throw Vedas, Upanishads, Aurobindo, Mahatma Gandhi. Everybody should be thrown into dustbin. That is the first step for progress. Old institutions have to disintegrate. Bonds of caste, creed and race have to burst. And large number of people who cannot keep up with progress have to have the expectations of comfortable life frustrated. You can never have a comfortable life if you carry this old baggage with you. You are talking about dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These have to be thrown overboard. This is the mandate, official mandate of United Nations. This was based on what Marx and Weber said. They had no difference. Please understand, there is no difference between capitalism and communism. Many people think there is a huge war going on between the two. It is just a property dispute. Whether property should be owned by the state or by the individual is the only dispute between them. What the property should be put to use is not a matter of concern or anything. How nature is to be viewed, how religion is to be viewed. Both are godless. Both are no spiritualism left. There is no sense of collectivity left except for the purpose of achieving what they want to achieve. We must understand the total confusion into which we have been led. There are left thinkers and right thinkers. Those who think in Marxian way are left. Those who think contrary to Marxian way are right. I mean, the whole standardizing and classification which the West experienced and exported to us, we have internalized and dealing people amongst us in this sense. So what further says is, very few communities are willing to pay the price for the full economic progress. United Nations Department of Social and Economic Affairs measures for the development of underdeveloped nations. You must understand that this is not something which in those days United Nations was the most powerful institution. United Nations ceased to be a useless institution during the Korean War and afterwards. Till then, United Nations was a very powerful institution. And all our education departments, all our policy makers, all our IAS officers were educated on this basis. Don't think this was a useless document. This was based on the speech that Truman delivered in 1948 when he assumed office as the President of the United States of America as a new deal for the world, word for word. It is from that speech this document was made. This is how we were shaped. Our academic institutions were shaped. Our intellectualism was shaped. Our media was shaped. Our leaders were shaped. Our civil servants were shaped. It was an organized cultural, civilizational, spiritual, social destruction. And there is only one model for the world. There is no second model. And of course, one is the Marxian, and other is the market. The Marx and market model drove the world between 1950s and 1990 when the market model won against the Marxian model. And at the time, one Francis Fukuyama, he wrote a book called The End of History and the Lost Man. And that book said that the problem which Karl Marx had and Weber had and Adam Smith had all been resolved now. The modern West with liberal democracy and market economics has emerged as the most perfect model which Hegel said the perfect society, and so it has won against the rest, and it is best for the rest to adopt the West as the best. This was the theory he made. This became the Bible of globalization. We were not taught like that. In fact, that is the time when I began questioning all this. And when I questioned globalization, when they said globalization is the way, there is no other way. You see how intellectualism has dwarfed in the world can be seen from how the shelf life of ideas have been crashing. Colonialism lasted for 250 years. And everybody during the time of colonialism thought colonialism was eternal. Then came mercantile capitalism. It lasted for 100 years. Everybody thought mercantile capitalism will last forever. Then came Marxism. Everybody thought Marxism will last forever. 50 years, it was over. And then globalization came. We all knew these were all old thoughts which were considered to be eternal. Globalization beginning 25 years back, we were told there is no other way. In fact, when I delivered a lecture against globalization at the administrative staff college of Hyderabad and said this is going to destroy even the very idea of what nation is, national economy is, our own understanding about ourselves, our culture, our value system, even families. One army officer stood up and told me people like you should be shot dead because you are taking the country 500 years back. This was the extent of pressure on people who thought differently. That globalization has collapsed in 25 years. This because human mind doesn't have a vantage point to study what happened in the last 200 years. And that is the basis of what is likely to happen for the next 100 years. Now we are driven by front pages of newspapers. We are contextualized in our thinking. We are context bound, arrested by context in our thinking, so we cannot think of the future. We cannot think of anything which transcends even days, not to talk of months and years and decades. And so, in this situation, how things have moved in the last 25 years, I am going to show to you. To know how things are likely to move and how probably the world will have to look for an alternative, and that alternative is not available anywhere else in the world except as great people like Aurobindo or Vivekananda. All these people, great people who were millennial people, not just centennial people, they have said they have to look to India. If we have any direct doubt about all this, at least I don't know, after 35, 40 years of experience in public life, in media, in business, in economics, and fairly considerable experience in global affairs, I have absolutely no doubt that time has come for the world which is facing the dead end of what it has been doing for the last 500 years to turn to look at India. I am going to prove this to you. Not with reference to my thinking, with reference to global thinking.